Hey guys, Music Man here, back with another Identity 5 video, and in this video we're going to take a look at some of my AND gameplay. Alright, so I'm going to plan on doing this video a little different. I'm going to be making my lunch at the same time, because I've been busy with all sorts of stuff right now, so I'm going to be busy making my lunch at the same time and do this video, so I'm just going to take this time to talk. You can see the gameplay on the screen. A lot of AND gameplay is relatively straightforward. But I might comment here and there, but I'd like to take some time to comment in general of just some changes that have been going on since I made my last video. And since then we've got Painter coming out. It looks like Sculptor is going to be getting an adjustment. I think Sculptor is getting nerfed, and Painter is already expected to get a nerf at some point soon. Oh yeah, and Geisha's getting an adjustment. So those are going to be some of the key points I'm going to be talking about in this video. So I think I'd like to start out by talking about the Geisha adjustment. So so what it appears, it looks like it's in the test server, you're going to be able to throw butterflies out, and you're going to be able to use those to leech on other survivors, and that's going to be what you have to use to dash to. It can still be skill checked, which it seems kind of mad for a Geisha adjustment. I mean, it's going to give her some map pressure, because she's going to be able to throw the butterflies out, dash to them, and it's going to allow her to get to more known spawns a lot quicker. So, I mean, that sense she's going to get a lot better, but just the sense that it's going to make her dash towards survivors a lot more difficult, and it can still be skill checked even if you do land the leeching butterflies. So that's going to make her a lot more difficult to use. As far as whether you call it a buff or just an adjustment or a rework, I mean, I think it kind of lies more of an adjustment, because I've talked to Geisha mains. Some of them are actually even saying it might make her worse, because it's just going to make her ability a lot more difficult to utilize, especially if the leeches have a limited time that they stay on the survivors. And ooh, looking back at the game, I got basement. Nice. But yeah, so that's just a little bit in regards to the Geisha adjustment. So now let's talk about Painter. Painter is a fun topic to talk about. Am I right? Non-meta mains. Oh my goodness. So Painter is really, really strong. If you're not playing Bloody Queen, if you're not playing Dream Witch, he is a hassle. I mean, he's literally got, I think, I think he's got just about as strong assisting power as Priestess does. The reason why Painter's not stronger than Priestess is literally because Priestess has that World Portal, which forces the Hunter to switch to Teleport in order to chase, and I think that's slightly more powerful than Painter's ability, but I mean, not far off, to be honest, because what he can do is he can literally... I think what makes Painter so annoying is, yes, he's got the stun, yes, he's got the 5 seconds or whatever, but when it really comes down to it, the real strong thing is that, he forces the Hunter's camera, away from the survivor, and that can make it so, especially if you place the paintings right, I think, presumably, you can actually place the paintings so that, the Hunter's camera is behind a wall or something like that. And you can get that with, pallet stuns and stuff. But if you can manage to do that with the painting, you can, if the survivor is able to sneak away, you can completely get the Hunter to lose a chase. Especially if you place, the painting right in front of a pallet, you can get the 5-second stun, and then you can get a pallet stun on top of that. So you can bring, max pallet stun, and it's just going to take forever for the Hunter to recover off of that. So I think he is in need of a nerf. Now, as far as whether he's worth a ban, I wouldn't say that. I still think that Seer, Mercenary are more powerful, except for you can justify it with a camping hunter. So if you're playing Axe Boy, if you're playing Feaster, maybe Violinist, but that's just because Seer's not a huge issue for Violinist. I'd say, in general, you're going to want to stick to banning Seer, or I've actually been starting to, sometimes when I play non-meta, banning Mechanic. just because mechanics got broke Cypher Rush. And by the time you get the first down, you know, 2 ciphers are like already halfway done no matter how fast it is, unless you manage to get like a Terror Shock or something. But I would say in general, not necessarily worth your ban. However, the chair progress thing is really tough for a lot of hunters, particularly camping ones. So Bon Bon, Feaster, you know, characters in that sort of genre. So you can justify it with them, although I don't think it's the most effective ban at the moment, especially because he's a new character. We don't know if we're going to be able to learn how to deal with him. I mean, of course you got excitement, but I mean, let's be honest, most hunters get killed if they don't bring something for chase, or like with Anne, I bring teleport for map control because she has nothing for map control. And if I find the Merc first, I have to just wait till that teleport cooldown is done, and then I wait for whatever cipher is wiggling the most. So, but if I brought excitement, like if I was playing against like a stunner team and I was forced to bring excitement, that really doesn't give me anything for chase, and that doesn't give me anything for map control. So, I mean, you won't see a match here where I'm going to bring excitement because there's a painter or a forward or something. Like, well, with Anne, I don't really need it because all I can do is I can just stun the forward when he attempts to balloon rescue. But, yeah. So, looks like we just finished up match 1. So I think I've not looked too far into this, but Sculptor is also getting a nerf. I think it's just like statue speed or something. Although I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me on that. As it didn't look like anything that was going to kill her. It was just going to make her tougher to use. I don't think it's going to be as drastic as what they did to Bloody Queen. But when it comes down to it, I think Sculptor is still going to be, I would say, A tier. Now, lately in ranked, I kind of stopped spamming Bloody Queen, but I did get my S badge. I was all good, but now I'm starting to play other characters, so I've been playing a lot more Anne. I think this is kind of where a little bit of that gameplay is coming from. I've been starting to spam Anne, and I've been trying to learn Axe Boy. So hopefully we can get some of that gameplay for you all, hopefully. If all goes well and I'm able to pull a couple of wins, hopefully I can get some gameplay for all of you Anne and Axe Boy mains out there. But Anne is a pretty solid choice for Moonlit. God Kite is a tough area, but when you're kiting an Anne, what you want to do is you want to break line of sight, and you'll see this is what a lot of these survivors, the good survivors, will do, is they're going to not necessarily tight cut, but do whatever they can to get like the visual off and stay away from open areas, because that's what allows for the easiest dashes to happen. So just a couple of tips if you're going as Survivor against Anne. You pretty much kite an Anne the same way you would kite a Gamekeeper, which is, again, breaking that line of sight, staying away from open areas. And you can see this Acrobat is doing just that with God Kite here. And I'm playing like a bot and missing a lot of my cats. But I did end up downing the Acrobat there. I'm going to take him to the chair. Another thing that's also important when you're playing non-meta or characters that don't have any like map control, or even ones that do have a lot of map pressure and stuff, it's really important to know your spawns. And I'm actually planning on maybe eventually releasing a video where I walk through some of the spawns, starting with Hospital, just because I'm most familiar with the Hospital spawns. But I'm thinking I might make a video where I walk through what I do for every spawn point I get, where I go, and what could be the best places to go for each hunter. And yeah, so let me know in the comment section whether you're all interested in seeing a video like that. I'm guessing you probably will, because it's just like a commonly asked about topic, is like spawn points and where to go. But yeah, I'm planning on making a series on that in the future, walking through every map. the hardest ones to memorize spawn points for by far are Leo's Memory, and just because it's newer, Ever Sleeping has been tough, although there are a few key spawns that almost always, unless they're rotating, you'll be able to find a survivor there at, which is kind of like in that middle cipher area, if that's a spawn, or kind of over somewhere in an area close to graveyard is where survivors usually spawn. And that you'll see if I ever have any Ever Sleeping gameplay up here. Ever Sleeping is just such a tough map, but if I do ever get some decent gameplay on there, I can show you all kind of where I tend to go. So, yeah. Oop, and it looks like my water's boiling, so I'm gonna go ahead and pour in my macaroni right now. Oh my goodness, I'm acting like such a stereotypical college student right now. Oh, okay. So, yeah. Anna's a good choice on Moonlit. I'm gonna go ahead and show you some of the Moonlight gameplay. That's what I'm doing right now. The first play was on Church. Church is another decent map for. Hospital is tougher though, and a lot of maps with some pretty powerful 2 stories can be tough with her. Leo's Memory, I mean, you can make her work on there. She's tough there. Ever Sleeping kills her. Don't ever play her on Ever Sleeping. The pallet spam will just kill you, and all the god pallets and all the different areas that can break the line of sight. And just Ever Sleeping is a really tough map. And if I had to say there should be one map that should get a rework, like just be completely reworked, rethink where all the pallets are and stuff, because that map is just pallet spam. You don't need to conserve at all. What you need to do is, what I feel like they need to do is they need to take away some of those pallet areas and just make it so that there aren't so many areas to break line of sight. And most of all, they need to break the infinite loop at Corner House. So for all of you that don't necessarily know the infinite loop, in Corner House there's a loop that you can take as much time as you need from the hunter. What you do is you walk up the stairs, you vault out the window, and if they aren't carrying confined space, which in Ever Sleeping most hunters don't because confined space kind of is iffy there, because it just counters this one loop, essentially. But if they aren't carrying confined space, all you have to do is go back around to the stairs, and if the hunter keeps vaulting, you can really just keep doing that for like the first round of cipher pops before the hunter has a chance to catch up to you. And it's literally just as powerful as probably I would say, like the Arms Factory before the nerf, where they like removed like that double window there that you could just keep looping. It's just as powerful as that. So, you know, when they removed the double window at Arms Factory and they added that T-wall, that it's kind of actually a pain now. Oh wow, I was lucky to pull this one into a win, but yeah. So that's just a little commentary on Ever Sleeping. Leo's Memory is also a really tough map just because most kiting routes lead into Arms Factory, and Arms Factory I would say is almost better than before, to be honest, for survivors, because you've got that god pallet there and you've got those other 2 pallets that are kind of over to the corner of Leo's Memory, of the factory, over to the corner. You got those 2 pallets which kind of lead for a loop that you can waste a good 25 seconds there just looping that, and you force the hunter to try to work around those pallets, and you can mind game them a lot. And if they aren't carrying confined space, you can really just loop around that window there and go through the god pallet, and then eventually jump scare them and pallet stun them, and then you can go someplace else. And then if you ever need to come back, you can always go up the staircase. You've got a couple vaults down if you're in trouble. You can just go ahead and abandon ship on the factory, and you can just literally go transition anywhere else. So factory, I think needs a better rework. I think a good rework for that would be probably, just because it's so strong without its pallets, maybe remove the God pallet in that door there. And yeah, so I think that God pallet could be removed there. Hold on, let me just set my timer here for my macaroni. And yeah, so I think the God pallet needs to be removed there, and either remove, I would say probably the outermost pallet in that corner there. It's just kind of unnecessary there, but it does give the survivors more to work around. If the hunter's catching up, they can just loop between those two pallets, and if they catch the hunter at the right time, they can pallet stun there. And it's just a really powerful area. And a lot of the other areas, though, are also pretty decent too, and often underrated. Like the area by Moongate, those thin walls, really good against an and for breaking line of sight. Gamekeeper breaking line of sight. It's also got a lot more solid areas, so just throughout the entire map, not necessarily just that area, because but those areas, like towards the middle, there's like a streak in the middle where there's just a whole bunch of solid obstacles, and that makes it really tough on Ripper mains. And it's not like Moonlit where he can like hit through half of the objects here. Oh my goodness, I remember this match specifically. There's those... If I wasn't bringing teleport here, I would have been absolutely screwed here. But thank goodness I was. I can just go ahead and remove that portal. And I teleported over there, and that literally saved the entire game. But that portal was so far away, it would have absolutely destroyed my match if I didn't carry teleport, because then they would have just been able to heal. It's just such an OP area for... it's such an OP mechanic of Priestess that she's able to just use that world portal and force the hunter to use their trump card if they're carrying trump card to switch to another trait. Which as hunters, I don't know that there's... Maybe Smiley, but there aren't a whole lot of hunters that I would recommend not carrying trump card for. I just do it with Anne because Anne really needs help for chase. I mean, I could justify bringing Blink, and I used to do that. I used to carry Blink with Anne because I'd have a hard time with that starting chase, but as I've gotten more confident with my cats, even if I do miss some, and she's got a pretty devastating cooldown. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, Anne's also getting a buff. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. We haven't received any insider information as to what that buff is going to be. All we know is that she's getting a buff, which is very nice. She was honestly in need of a buff from the start. They nerfed her heavily at the beginning, and she just kind of never really recovered off of that. And that's why she still remains, like, I think a B tier hunter is where most hunter tier lists place her at. It's either B tier or C tier, but someplace really low. That she's basically unviable for tournament gameplay. I really only play her in tournament if I'm kind of like desperate for a comeback, because she does have some potential against survivors that don't know how to kite her. Just like Geisha has potential for survivors that don't know how to kite her. And a lot of another one of those hunters that you either know how to kite her or you don't. It's really similar to Geisha, which is, I think, kind of the idea behind why she's kind of getting a buff almost at the same time. And whoop, the final match ended. Looks like I lost track of a little time. I would like feedback in the comment section below. Do you like this style of commentary better, or would you like me to stick more with just kind of talking about the gameplay, or do you want me to talk more about overall game sense and just kind of overall themes? I would like feedback in the comment section below, so if you could leave that, that would be fantastic. But I'll see you next time. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that video. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought, and I'll see you next time.